Terminal Station by Nanaki BH. Lately, all nights seemed to be rainy when Yosuke was around, but that wasn't a bad thing. Akira had always liked the rain. It meant soothing background noise during class, cooler temperatures in the summer, and atmospheric walks beneath an umbrella. It was nice having someone who he could experience those kind of moments with. He used to fear that his sentimental feelings for such mundane things would be too embarrassing to share with anyone. Yet it was like fate had matched him up with the one person who was guaranteed to understand those feelings. While he was sitting on the floor, Yosuke was sitting on the bed on his knees, looking out the window with his arms resting comfortably on the sill. The sound of rain nearly lulled Akira to sleep, but he occasionally turned around to have a look at Yosuke's excited face. He seemed to be able to appreciate even the smallest things at the back of his mind. Akira worried that he understood where that his appreciation was born from, having so little made it necessary for him to find ways to entertain himself without needing to spend money. He didn't want Yosuke to feel like he needed to deprive himself of anything anymore, though if he saw something he wanted, Akira wanted him to have it. If there was somewhere he wanted to go, he wanted to take him there. He wanted him to do whatever he wanted to do and whoever he wanted to be. That desire was also one he deeply held for himself. Perhaps, Akira thought, by releasing Yosuke from the chains that bound him, he would find the way to release his own. Seeing him smile so genuinely, so different from the person they first met. Was he evolving like that too? He hoped so. Just as Akira's eyes began to close again, beckoned towards sleep by the sound of the rain, Yosuke left his place at the windowsill and slid down to sit next to him on the floor, half conscious. Akira leaned against him, resting his head on Yosuke's shoulder. What he always imagined to be a romantic pose was less comfortable than expected when he was so close in height to the person he was dating. Though kinda disappointing. How romantic. Well, at least Yosuke liked it. It was the thought that counted. It was hard for Akira to keep his eyes closed once he began to feel so aware of their closeness with his eyes half lidded. Akira slipped his arm under Yosuke's and traced his fingers along the soft underside of his arm and loosely fit their hands together. He opened his mouth, but it was seized by a yawn first, rubbing his cheek against Yosuke's shoulder to wake himself up. He looked up at him. Hey, he mumbled. You aren't bored? Bored? He seemed confused at first, but then a concerned crease formed between his brows. Are you bored, Akira? I'm sorry. I didn't think to bring in an activity with me this time. Akira hadn't even noticed until he mentioned it. It wasn't a big deal, though he enjoyed the things Yosuke brought over. They were always engaging and interesting, but he also enjoyed their companionable moments of silence. He wasn't able to do that with anyone else. Yosuke didn't demand his attention. Leaning his head back against the bed, Yosuke stared up at the ceiling, and Akira followed his gaze to the star-shaped stickers on the rafters. I wish we could watch the stars together, Yosuke said. The real ones. I enjoyed the planetarium, but I would really like to see what the stars are like back in your hometown. You came from the country, yes? I bet the sky must be beautiful out there. He frowned sadly. Apologies. That isn't a feasible idea for tonight. Akira couldn't help but laugh. Ha ha, that's alright. We'll just have to save that idea for the future. Hmm, okay. Yosuke sat up a little straighter, careful not to dislodge Akira from his place on his shoulders. The bathhouse, then. The bathhouse? Akira sat up so he could look at him. It was about time he escaped from that position anyway. His ear was going numb. That's not a bad idea, but I think we might want to wait until it stops raining. Yosuke nodded understandingly, eyes closed, fingers held to his chin. A second later, he looked up with a promisingly confident glimmer in his eyes. Let's go to Mementos. It took just a single second for Akira to get his hopes up and to have them dashed. The sun was settling and the moon was already visible in the sky. It's sort of late for that, isn't it? I don't think the others would be ready to assemble. Then again, he was the only one with the bossy cat enforcing a strict curfew on him. Actually, I was speaking of you and myself. I'm interested in drawing your personas. I frequently get to see them up close, but with the way you arrange the main infiltration party, I don't have the time to put down my sword, Yosuke explained. Akira felt himself blushing. Sorry, my favoritism is showing, isn't it? You deserve a break once in a while. I'm surprised the others haven't yelled at me for always picking you. It's alright. Besides, you is where I wish to be, Yosuke said, placing a hand over his heart as he looked at him with an affectionate smile. To be of use to the one I love is my own desire. Squeezing his eyes closed, Akira clutched his chest, his heart twisting almost painfully, bursting with a sudden overflow of emotion. Madarame has been a fool to ignore the treasure he had right in front of him. Apart from the strange request here and there, Yosuke didn't ask for much. For each minute of attention he was given, for each cup of coffee and pair of snacks, Akira was repaid with beauty and seemingly bottomless admiration and devotion. Akira put his arms around his knees, trying to contain his feelings. If he had a little less restraint, he might have thrown himself at Yosuke, but he knew better than that. Regardless of how easy it was for him to swing around a heavy sword, Yosuke's body was very bruisable. If they continued their Phantom Thieves business, maybe he'd gain some muscle. If they could. Akira? He had been spacing out, it seemed. Don't mind me, I'm just thinking. Maybe you should work out with me. Work out? Oh, right now? I wasn't talking about tonight, Akira explained, patiently giving Yosuke a little playful poke on the forehead. If we were gonna work out, I'd let you know ahead of time so you could be prepared. Since I'm out of ideas, Mementos would be fine. You just wanna draw some of my personas, right? They weren't going to need any of the others if they were gonna do any fighting. He and Yosuke had gone there alone before. Yosuke nodded enthusiastically, eyes sparkling. Pushing himself up, Akira stood and started heading towards the edge of the stairs to grab his bag. "Kay, let's get going then. Even if we're careful, we shouldn't stay out too late. Sojiro will get mad at me if I'm not back before he closes the shop." Sojiro was obligated to record everything for his probation. Regrettably, Akira knew that even the most harmless mistake could be blown out of proportion and used against him as behavioral transgressions in court. He couldn't afford any more mistakes if he had hoped of returning home. But did he really care about going back home and to his old school anymore? Dangerous thought. Please help me.